Hey everyone, this is Karen from PortPrep. I'm the architecture portfolio tutor, and I'm here with Benson. He's a Canadian student from BC that is currently studying in the UK. I want to turn the floor over to Benson here to tell us about his journey and what it's been like to apply to schools in the UK, and why you chose to study at Manchester U over all the other schools that you also got accepted into. I think you applied to schools in Canada, the USA, and the UK, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So let's hear a bit about it.
So one of the main reasons I chose Manchester, first of all, I looked at rankings to get like idea, since oftentimes ranking does tell like important aspects of why a university is great. So then I looked into different selections in Europe, since I feel like architecture in Europe, there's a long history to it, and there's like this diverse sense of timeline from like historic buildings to modern buildings. All you could see it all around the cityscapes. And so Manchester is an industrial revolution city. So it was quite important for UK economy, etc. One of the reasons I chose Manchester University is because it's actually a combination of two universities. So it's Manchester Metropolitan University and University of Manchester. So I get access to two of the resources of two campuses. So I get two libraries, like access to two like campuses. So I get the workshop, the art workshop, and like fashion design workshops in from MMU, and then I get access to like architecture and model making workshop for University of Manchester, U of M. So it's like yeah, and then I could join clubs from both campuses as well, and then you get resources from both campuses. So it's that. So Manchester School of Architecture. So the teacher invites people from all over the world. We had this talk on alien intelligence, which is AI. And then we had like Jim Barton, who talked about making a job for yourself, and like how do you do certain things. We had architect Glenn Howells that came to talk about architecture. We had like our head of school, along with another architect, um, and just a bunch. And then AI hybrid craft session. We also got to talk with people from Henning Larsen, and then we had a workshop, a sense of place. I went to that workshop. Uh, I'm in the middle there, but we explored basically model making quickly on a urban scale of how we experience a place. So it's called, the workshop name is Sense of Place, and this is the model.
Great.
And then we had like an open seminar with a senior architect in Henning Larsen. So we talked about different things. We also had a hybrid craft. That's me talking to the guy. Um, it's not here, but I can look. It used my pavilion to kind of explore and develop a um, AI project. So he kind of taught us how to use Midjourney, Stable Diffusion, and he kind of wanted us to incorporate AI into our workflow. Yeah. Oh yeah, and then
Fantastic.
we also have um, we call it ADD sessions, so architectural design technologies. That kind of every Wednesday we get to learn about a particular software. So I go to this quite often too. So we have Python. So we learn about V-Ray Rhino. This was really helpful, V-Ray Rhino, because that's
Yeah.
kind of what helped me to do the like these renders here.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that was
Yeah.
yeah. So a
V-Ray is
lot
a
of
great add-on to any
yeah,
3D modeler. I really love the effects of that V-Ray. It's pretty easy to use once you get the hang of it.
yeah,
Yeah, I've played
yeah.
around with it a bit.
And then yeah, this was a so basically it went from a hand sketch. So I did a quick sketch on stage of my design, which is the fire performer and the ginkgo leaf. And then
Right.
so we developed that using Midjourney. So he taught us like prompt engineering, how to use Midjourney, and then we slowly you see the develop the pavilion with AI, and then
Wow.
slowly
These are amazing.
yeah, and then he brought it into stable diffusion once we had a good section. So this was a section, and then we brought it into stable diffusion and like rendered it. That was
Amazing.
yeah.
I can see why you're so thrilled and excited. This has just been such a
This
rich experience.
yeah. There's like
Wow.
so much opportunities everywhere, and like I can't stop learning, and I love learning, so it's quite
I know
fun
you
thing.
do. Like you used to get up at 5 in the morning to like work on your portfolio before you went to school. Such dedication. Oh, you must be just
Yeah,
thrilled.
and then I also went to like OMA lectures from RIBA. Yeah, and then a bunch of different lectures here and there. Basically, just a bunch. Yeah, there's a
Fantastic.
bunch of
Oh,
learning.
this is your
Yeah,
Instagram.
that's my yeah.
And you keep your Instagram up. Wow. That's really cool that you have such a diverse education opportunity with the facilities. That's exciting. Is that something you knew about? Is that why you chose it?
Yeah, it was one of the main reasons. So I looked at their website, did more research. I also looked at like BA1's work, BA like bachelors of architecture, like their works. So I looked through it and I was quite interested in what type of architecture and what type of work they're producing. So I felt like it would be an interesting um school to participate in. And yeah,
Right.
so that's
What other schools had you applied to? Because I think there was some other schools in the UK that you got accepted
yeah.
to.
So I applied to four schools through UCAS. So I did two UCL applications, but I got rejected from both. But I got in Bath, Sheffield, and Manchester. And yeah,
Fantastic. And Manchester is quite highly ranked.
yeah.
What ranking is it in the world?
It's ranked fifth in the world.
In the world. Wow. How proud your parents must be.
Yeah.
So, um, so Benson, how is it what you expected? What's the experience been like of going to school there?
I think like for my personal experience, I think like before heading to school, architecture school, my expectations were kind of like there's lots of work, um, you know, lots of stress, all-nighters or late night work, all those type of things. But when I arrived, I felt like, you know, in my aspect, I think it was quite fun. There is a lot of work, but I think if you enjoy your work, it feels more fun than rather just like doing homework all day long. So I think so far I haven't pulled any all-nighters. And then I've been meeting deadlines and yeah, it's been pretty fun. And you get to kind of explore a lot during like um your first few years, so it's pretty fun. Yeah.
So what makes it fun to you?
I think just being I think viewing the design process like understand it rather than like view it as a challenge and a problem that kind of affects you. So you just gotta take on the challenge and keep playing around and be more free than feeling restricted by like let's say the brief and all those type of things. Yeah.
What approach does Manchester take with their design? Are they um very like do they just throw you into a creative problem and do problem-based learning, or are you learning a more structured programming approach? What is it like studying at Manchester?
I think it's a combination of both. So I've been only been here for one semester. So far our first semester was a mix of studio, and we have something called Studio Plus, and then we have humanities. So on studio days we have a brief, and they tell you what to work on. Like there's a brief, and then you have to work on that project constantly for like let's say 4 weeks. And for Studio Plus, those days are where for us it's Wednesdays. You work on developing studio skills, basically like let's say cutting using like model making materials, all those type of things. And then we also have like technology and InDesign tutorials, Photoshop tutorials, let's say narrating, space diagramming, all those type of things. And for humanities, we have history lectures on architecture. That could be a variety of topics such as Japan's architecture, architecture and health, um, trade and architecture, all those type of things. And so right now for the first semester, it's more of a here's a brief, go play around, explore. And but I know for second semester we have something called technologies unit. So we'll be exploring like things like what's in the wall, like insulation, structure, all those type of things. Yeah.
Right. So starting a little more creative
Yeah.
and then increasingly learning more about architectural technologies and building structures and materials and all of that. Okay. Now, do you work analog by hand or by computer or hybrid of both?
So far, we don't have a specific assignment of which type of tools you could use. So it's more free. But I know our tutors at school prefer to have analog first. Since you're just starting, you learn the basics. Like for line weight wise, they try and push us to draw physically line weight by hand rather than use AutoCAD. But I think for like model making three-dimensionally, they also suggest us to just go in with our hands. And I know like Rhino, SketchUp, Revit, I think that's more of second year things. So far they just want
Yeah.
you to play. Yeah.
It seems to be fairly consistent
Yeah.
in most programs
Mm.
that I'm hearing. So, and that's why, we at PortPrep, we focus more on the hand skills, and that's why
Yeah.
most portfolios are based mostly on hand skills. So, I'm curious if you could show us a few of the things you've been working on. Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yeah. So curious to see.
So here's my portfolio for Studio 1.1, which is our first semester. So basically, it was divided into three projects. So Habitat, we call it Habitat A, B, C, and then the Studio Plus sessions we were talking about. So I'll just run through this pretty quick. So the first project was a pavilion for performance. Um, so it started at Stevenson Square. A good thing about Manchester is it's pretty close, so everything you could walk to. So this site we physically walked to as a field trip for our class. And so it started with site analysis, so site drawings, site sketches, observations. And I noticed quite early on this interesting shaped leaf, which is called a ginkgo leaf, which would be important later on in the project. So here's some photographs. It's like some site analysis.
And is
But
this, was this all required components in the brief you received?
yeah, so we had a certain amount of outputs for each week that we had to met. So most of all of them are met, but I kind of went beyond in some cases for fun. Yeah. So
I'm not
yeah.
surprised, Benson.
Um, we get one-to-one feedback with tutors. But there are also like other sessions on Wednesdays that you could personally book for. So it's called I forgot the name, but it basically you get to have a review with like a further year, like a later year prof. So they get to review your work, they give you feedback. So, I think it's through those interactions and like when you push yourself to have a chat with your tutors and take on
Right.
opportunities, that's where you learn the most. So I kind of
Do
built
you
it up
have
as,
tutors and teaching
yeah,
assistants and professors of different levels?
yeah.
Okay, so how much instructor time to each student do you have? Do you find that you have a good amount of instruction time?
I think, yeah, the tutor reviews are quite thorough. And you could always go back and ask more if you have questions about anything.
Hmm.
So on Monday, which is our studio day, we have start class at there's a lecture beforehand, but we start class at 10:30 all the way till 5 p.m. So that's an entire day of studio. So you could
Wow,
basically talk to the tutor anytime. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
yeah. So it's pretty good.
Okay, let's see what else
Yeah.
is part of this project.
So we looked into history
Mhm.
and I learned about the political aspects. And then we revisited, well, personally, I revisited site, look at different things and people of activity because an important aspect of this is a performance on the site that kind of develops into like the exterior and the form of the pavilion. So I studied fire performer and the movement and all those type of things and the fire breathing of it, the movement broken down and even explored three-dimensionally. And finally, when looking at the fire performance movement from the top view, we found that it kind of looked like a ginkgo leaf shape. My tutor actually told me that there was an interesting shape called a ginkgo leaf like this, and then I realized that I actually photographed it earlier on site, which was during my observation phase. So I instantly developed and started studying the ginkgo leaf, and I did some three-dimensional models with it.
Like, do you have classes that teach you about how to draw site plans and all of that stuff? Or are you expected to
Um,
kind of know it before you get there?
I'd say both. As an architecture school, they kind of expect you to have a basic knowledge of what these are.
Hmm.
But during our Monday lectures before our studio session, we get briefed over what we're doing this week and kind of um like a preview. So we do touch upon some of these ideas, but it's not explained very to a thorough extent. But on Wednesdays for Studio Plus sessions, we also practice some of these skills. So we did do like plan section and then um etc. You'll see later on my
Okay,
Studio
cool.
Plus section. So perspective drawings, and then this was a quick final model for presentation day, and then some photoshopping, and then later on develop the final model. Yeah.
Yeah. How big are your classes? Like how many classmates do you have?
So in total, I think first year has around 190 students. Wait,
That's a
100.
lot of students. Are you
Yeah,
broken up
but
into smaller groups then?
yeah, we're split into like 10, 9 groups, and then each group has like around 20-ish.
20 in a
Yeah,
class?
yeah,
Okay, yeah, that's a manageable size.
yeah.
Nice.
And then 20 students are managed by two tutors. Yeah. So you get to review one.
Okay, so then yeah, so that's a pretty good
Yeah,
ratio. Nice.
yeah,
Because I think it's important that wherever you choose to go to school, that there's a good ratio between instructors
yeah,
and TAs and the students. Because when you have really huge class sizes, it's almost impossible to get the amount of
yeah.
instruction you would ideally want to get the most out of your education. Nice, interesting piece. Cool.
So moving on to Habitat B, this was like our field trip week. So we get to explore different like basically different places. But we wanted to mainly focus on time and architecture and the relationship of those two. So I went to London, since it's pretty close, just a train ride. I looked at the timeline of when things were built and how, like, what aspects of things that change over time. So I kind of noticed the relationship of time, culture, technology, and how it develops space, which was our idea. So I visited like St. Paul's Cathedral, the Shard, yeah, and then Sky Garden, all of these things. So I did some sketches of St. Paul's Cathedral. I kind of contrasted the modern building on the side, which you can see here,
Yeah.
and like the historic architecture building in the middle. I also noticed how kind of like in the past, religion was in the center of architecture, but now it's slowly moved to money and efficiency and functionality. Or,
Yes.
yeah. So I looked at structure, materiality, how it changes over time, and how it was in the past, it's quite heavy, but in the left, when you have steel and glass, and it kind of lifts the weight a lot. Yeah.
Right.
Then I also went to exhibition called Latent Spaces, and then also observed how you can manipulate reality with like architecture and how a room is built and designed and yeah, tech.
Interesting.
So we also went to Halifax as a group together for field trip. So this was we mainly walked around the area and then looked at different historic buildings. The tutors also described and explained the historical aspects and also guided us to like take notes of different things. We visited the Halifax Minster. We also went to Hepton Bridge, so also as a group, so two locations. This one had more elevation changes and even row houses, which and a close relationship with water. So we did diagrams too.
Oh, this is
And then
fantastic.
but in the end, I kind of compared like the footprint of all the different cities and towns to kind of get this idea of what affects what and how it's
Mm,
like affects the time and stuff.
very interesting. Nice presentations. I think that's wonderful that they're taking you out on field trips and
Yeah,
studying different urban environments, um, and having you capture that
yeah,
through sketches and site analyses and things like that. What a
yeah.
wonderful opportunity.
I know.
I'm so
Yeah,
happy for you.
pretty cool.
So, yeah, and I can see you did a lot of hard work on your portfolio layout for your applications, and I can
Mhm.
see some of that coming to bear here. Um, do they also teach you about graphic layout or what they expect to see?
Um, there we have Studio Plus sessions on InDesign. But I think that session is kind of like a briefing on how to use InDesign. Um, But when you get it reviewed by your tutors, they do talk about like layout a bit.
Hmm,
If there's something wrong about the layout, they would just tell you and then you could change it up and things. But I think for me, I mainly learned like layout by just looking at different portfolios and like watching
right.
YouTube videos. Yeah, there's a bunch.
Yeah.
And
I
also like
like
this,
that you're simplifying your layouts a bit more and really just picking the most important
yeah,
things to show, allowing a little more white space. I think that's been helpful. Your diagrams are bigger and darker.
yeah,
Um, yeah, so that's a good, because sometimes I think in your portfolio it was a little bit it felt like a bit of a
pack
bombardment
a
of a
little bit.
lot of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah,
And there, yeah, and to the point where it was a little bit
overwhelming.
almost overwhelming in ways that, and some of your ideas didn't come across as strong as they maybe could have. Um, I was looking at your portfolio with a cousin of yours, and we were kind of discussing it of all the great things about it and why it worked well. And there was a couple of ideas I had that I wish I had thought of at the time when you and I were working together, of ways to make for your ideas, because your idea behind your main project was so strong. It would have been great to have the ideas come across even stronger. So
Yeah,
that might be one thing as you're working with your tutors, to continue to focus on how to make sure the idea is coming across clearly, and how to use your written descriptions maybe more effectively. That might be a good thing for you to do because you're such a great thinker. But we want to be able to, when we look at a presentation, be able to understand those amazing ideas. So hopefully you can continue to learn that as you're working there. It looks like you're already starting to just even just in first semester. Amazing.
yeah.
Fun. Let's hear about this one.
Okay. Yeah, and a quick note on that. Yeah, I definitely try to simplify um my layout a lot. Because I think in the past I was mainly like trying to put lots of things into one page to like show I did the work and the process and like because I found it interesting of the things I did, but trying to like having letting the work breathe by itself really helps like in the layout of the portfolio. Yeah. Yeah. But anyways, have that see. This one is a temporary housing project for two client of yours, and then it has to be 15 meters square. So for my site, I looked at Castlefield Bowl. So as the same as have that be, we also went on a field trip on a walk around Manchester to look at different locations that potentially would be good for our housing project. So my site was on Castlefield Bowl, so we did some site analysis. Everyone had different locations for this project, so you could pick your own site for your temporary housing. So mine was on this kind of canal way, by isolated in a sense. And then there was this bridge with a great view. And so I started with site analysis again, looking at the direction people travel, and all those type of things. That the wind and the sun shadow areas at the programs. I looked into the history and the present, and looked more on the aspect of water. So it was located near Bridgewater Canal, which is important for Manchester's history. And I noticed this sense of direction from in the project where people would travel towards. So there's one going left, right, and the bottom, both in all in different directions. So that was kind of the initial concept of a sense of direction. So I looked into the site, and then there was these interesting tent like shaped roofing that I noticed. So I kind of viewed it as a water drop. And we did some prototyping. So this week was a quick just prototyping, hands-on making model, three-dimensional thinking. So I did lots of that, and then I did some sketches over afterwards. And then so I continued developing the wave concept, like the water drop wave, and then I did some rhino too. And so I looked at president. I looked at Taura Ando's M Pavilion. I was interested in the way he isolates elements for the people in the area, so I sketched that.
Nice.
And then it's close proximity to water. So the final concept developed into like the water drop, into like waves moving in
Oh,
a direction.
cool.
Kind of like rising up my old project, but
Yeah, it does remind me a
yeah,
little bit of that, but I like how you derived it. Yeah, that's so interesting. Very cool.
yeah. So a water wave, and then we did ergonomic studies. So
Right?
in scale of people interacting with the space. and then further development. Then we looked at bubble diagrams from the top view, and then like
Yeah.
we did a storyboard of how you would interact with space
Nice.
and a photo montage of the site. Then like final orthographic drawing, sections, floor plan and roof plan, perspective views, and then I did some renders in SketchUp and Lumen. And then I did a final model in clay to get that fluid shape and feel.
Yeah.
And I also had fun in the model making workshop, like these wood. Yeah, I
Yeah.
spent only £3 on that, so it's quite cheap because you get to use like old materials from other people's projects. So it's quite, yeah, it's pretty good. And then I did a slash photo
Ah,
montage.
very cool.
We had to do a reflection and then yeah, studio.
So that's an interesting project
Yeah.
that you worked on. I think that you did a really cool job. It would be even something that I noticed that you could have maybe explored even more. You know how you looked at the cross section of the splash, right? And yeah, you see how it goes down under?
Yeah.
That might have been interesting to see if there could have been a way to use that. It almost reminds me a little bit of the library, the new library of Alexandria in Egypt, in Cairo, how it's both above and below grade like that. Yeah, I don't know because you had to deal with being on that platform, so you probably didn't have the chance to go down because it's a pavilion. But it could be cool if you could.
Yeah.
Um, and with some of the stuff I'm seeing from you, there's a YouTube channel I would recommend to anybody to check out. And I don't know if you watch her. Do you watch Demi Lee's YouTube channel?
I don't think so.
Look her up. Because even just some of the references of some of the case studies that you did and your understanding of space and how people interact with space, thoughts of how Japanese architecture and how people experience space in a different way, and sort of the Japanese mindset. Um, I think you'd find it really fascinating. Her videos are really, really interesting. So Demi Lee, look her up. I think you'll
I'll
love
check
it.
it. Thank you.
So yeah, very cool. So what kinds of things do you do in the other course called Studio Plus?
Oh, so Studio Plus is developing skills for studio. So first week we created a Mondrian cube.
Ah,
So it
fun.
was yeah 20 by 20. So first week we made that through model making skills. So that was the first week. Second week we did drawing exercises and quickly sketching the form of the model.
Oh, you're getting
And
so much stronger.
yeah,
I love
thank you.
it. Yes.
And then, so we also worked on, as I said, the plan views, orthographic views. So we did the model, and so it's basically grabbing like a more complex idea and kind of forcing you to learn the basics, the simple. So you cube and you're trying like the elevation, top view, and all those things. So if you could do that, then you could do like a more complex things further on. So idea. So we did
This
a
is great training. I love
yeah.
this.
So we did 3 views and then 6 views,
Mhm.
and then
Good.
we did week 4 was model and perspective. So we played around with perspective, then um through the model and then perspective. The left one was kind of like fun exploring and having different elements of the drawing itself. But yeah. And then so week 6 was model in parallel. So we looked at perspective parallel drawings,
Yeah.
and axonometric drawings.
Mhm.
I did an axonometric drawing of my model, some more sketches. And then week 7, we did narrating space, which was explaining and narrating um your model. And
Very
so
cool.
week 8 was diagramming space. So we diagrammed how our space would be. So I kind of explained it as like a pushing boundaries um thing
Oh
because
yeah.
it
Cool.
quite pushed, yeah. And then week 9 is the wow drawing, basically combining your drawings onto one page, kind of. We call
Nice.
it the wow drawing. Yeah.
I love it. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So wonderful. Thanks for showing us that. Very cool. So, is there anything else you wanted to share
Um,
with your experiences there?
sure. Yeah. We also did a competition with my friend.
Yeah, you sent me an email or
Yeah.
something about that. That was so cool to see. I love
Can you
hearing
see
from
my screen?
students. It's so fun. Wow, look
Can
at
you see it?
this.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah, so this was Alma Zeta. So this was a climate action competition that we did. So I just grabbed a group of first years and then we all just kind of worked on this. So it's all first year work. And yeah, I'm pretty proud and happy with it. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah, so basically the brief was to design a transitional shelter for displaced families in Brazil. And basically just after floods, after natural disasters, all
yeah,
those things. So we started researching about materiality and like location. We did this in a matter of 4 days, I think. Yeah, so we worked on it pretty hard and we got things done pretty fast too. Yeah. Um,
fantastic.
yeah, so
Great collaboration.
yeah, I know.
I like this concept. This is
Yeah,
good. Yeah. I love
yeah,
how you arranged the shelters in that sort of
yeah,
that row circle so it creates community space in the
yeah,
middle.
yeah.
That is really clever.
Community, the sense of community was a quite important aspect of the
Mhm.
briefing because it talked about how when transitional shelters happen, you need that sense of community to get you
Oh
back on
my
track
gosh,
and
it's
make you
so
feel good.
important because it's so
Yeah,
challenging. And so these little pods, instead of just a sea of grid
yeah,
chaos
yeah,
that people often end up in, that, this is just so much more humane and
yeah,
really encourages that sense of community and a little bit of space
yeah,
for interacting as a group. That's beautiful. So it's like a very practical but community based and really considering people's well-being. Um, that's wonderful.
yeah.
Great presentation.
Thank you. Yeah,
So it was a competition.
yeah. Oh,
Um,
and
did you find out who placed or won,
yeah,
or how did it go?
uh, we won the competition,
You did?
so yeah,
No,
yeah.
congratulations. Do you know how
Thank you.
many entries there were?
I know it was across 7 universities, so yeah, it was pretty good.
Yay, Benson. That's
Thank you. Yeah,
fantastic.
and we get
You guys did a
I think,
great job together.
yeah, thank you. And I think
Wonderful.
we get a week of work experience in London, like the office of, yeah. And then we would also be able to talk to like the people that might actually build this project in Brazil. So
Really?
yeah,
That's huge.
yeah,
Oh, this has been such a fantastic experience for you. So
yeah,
this was worth that extra effort.
definitely, yeah.
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 Which office are you guys going to be working in for a
Uh,
week as part of your prize?
let me check real quick.
Oh,
Or
you
should
don't,
I tell you?
oh,
Yeah,
you
I
don't remember
forgot.
the name of the
Yeah,
office?
yeah,
Well, that's a wonderful opportunity for you
yeah.
guys. That's fantastic. Wow. Yeah, I'm so happy for you.
Thank you.
Um, so thanks for sharing that. Do you want to stop your screen share?
Yep, sure.
So wonderful. Uh, so what has it been like culturally for you? So it sounds like it looks like a really wonderful education program. I like the approach that I'm seeing of how they're balancing the various learning outcomes that you'd want to get across in first semester. It looks like you guys are really learning a lot or almost at a higher level than you would expect for a first
Yeah,
semester in the different types of things you're doing. And I think that Studio Plus, just picking a simple project and repeating it in different ways is a really smart idea.
yeah,
And your understanding of space and how to show space and develop your skills in various ways, you've learned so much in one semester. And you're
yeah.
getting your ideas are much more boldly presented. Uh, so whoever's teaching you, they're doing a great job. Um, so do you find is it really stressful and a heavy workload? Like you have not done any all-nighters. Good for you. Is that relatively common that it's a good balance? Or is that just that you have an amazing work ethic and self-control? Like, what is that? How are you finding it for you compared to your peers?
I think my peers, they usually stay up later in the night. But I don't know. I like to have like a good sleep schedule because it
Yeah,
really helps with academics.
it does.
For me, I think you just have to do the work that is assigned each week because I think people might put it off and then you get more and more later on that you don't have, right? So me, I just do the things. I think they give quite enough time for everybody to finish what they're supposed to do. Yeah.
Okay, so it's
I
not an
think,
impossible workload.
yeah, I think it's, yeah, a lot of my peers can handle it, I think.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yeah, because every school's a little bit different. Some
yeah,
schools, I hear reports that it's almost feels almost impossible. And some people find it incredibly stressful. But I hear different things from different people, right?
yeah,
I know you have a really good work ethic. You're kind of, at least when you were working on your portfolio, you were a morning person.
yeah,
You're not the, grind all night kind of
yeah,
person. Like, and so I think it's really healthy that you're able to make sure you're getting sleep, and taking care of your health. Because you're right, it does help you with your academics and it helps you with your creativity, to be a rested mind whenever possible.
yeah,
So, um, so I found I loved the all-nighter thing when I was in school. I just got like so into it. I'd just be hyper focused and so excited about the projects that I just dove right in and I don't know, I just found it energized me so much, and
yeah,
I tended to get a lot done at night. So for me, I was that late night person. And I did do a lot of all-nighters because I was just so into it, but it wasn't great for my health. And so I always admire people that have like a good work ethic such that they can take care of their health too, because
mhm,
architecture can be quite demanding and
yeah,
it can take its toll on your health over time. So it's great that you've got a healthy balance and it's possible. It's good to hear that it's possible to do, right? So, what's it been like socially for you? Obviously you're really busy with your schoolwork and that's probably a lot of it. What is the school environment like? Like, do you have a permanent desk? Is it sort of part-time studio space where you have to come and go? Um, do you guys work in little pods? Like, how does it work? What is it like at your school?
So first, in the broader context, as in culturally, I think since it's like higher ranked school, there's a bunch of people from all over the world. So I know people from like Turkey, Indonesia, Malaysia, a bunch all over. I know a few Taiwanese people too, Canadians, yeah. So basically it's quite diverse since it's high ranking. People come together from all over the place. So I think you're more welcome in that aspect because everybody is quite new to like here, so you can relate to a lot of things. And as for um, more in focused on school context. Our studio, we have different groups split into 9 groups. And so basically for first semester, you're with that group of 20 students, with that 2 tutors, the same setup for first semester. So that's kind of your little cohort that you get to know people. But we also have lecture days where it's basically the entire year, so you get to sit with other people from like all over. Also have something called MSA Collective, which I kind of want to talk about.
Yeah.
So it's basically um an additional kind of resource where like um this teacher arranges different experts, professionals, architects from the industry to come to our school and talk about us and have workshops with us. So I kind of maximized that experience. I went to a bunch of sessions. We had one session that talked about AI and architecture, this AI hybrid craft, which I could show you right now
Oh, sure.
because he used my pavilion project for
You must have so many talented classmates. It's got to be exciting to work together.
yeah.
Do you find
So
that is there a good camaraderie and sharing of ideas, or do you find it competitive between yourself and your classmates?
I think there's a good amount of sharing. For me, I have like a few close friends that I just talk to them about my ideas because I find it really helpful to have a different perspective. And
Yeah,
it also like when you're talking to them, it also like gets you thinking. So it's
yeah,
really helpful for me. Yeah.
yeah.
So
Like to have other people that think conceptually and thoroughly like you do, because you'd have other fantastic peers. So it can be probably exciting education opportunity. Okay, so what is
so
this?
this is MSA Collective.
Do you have time to do anything social and go out around the town with your friends?
Yeah, I think um I went I mainly I like eating food, so I went with a few of my friends like just around there. We I also go on walks with my family too. So kind of just exploring Manchester as a city.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's cool. Do you know what are the health supports or mental health supports like at Manchester U? Do you find that there's a good or a thorough support for students there?
I think there is there's I think sessions advertising about like mental health support. So like for example our induction week, like the first day we kind of was briefed about like this mental health opportunity. Like if you need it, just contact whatever. And then later on at like fairs, like society fair, we would call it clubs. Yeah. Club fairs, there's also like opportunities as those for
Cool.
I think if like as long as you pay attention, there's like always like areas where you could seek for help. Yeah.
That's good to know. Yeah.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're doing just fine though yourself.
Yeah.
Do you have you noticed whether your classmates find it particularly stressful, or does it seem like a pretty healthy environment where you're studying?
Um, I'm not quite sure. I know some people, some of my classmates are stressed. Um, but I feel like my closer friends, they enjoy architecture more than stress. They have work to do, but like I think stress isn't like what they show as like the main emotion that much.
Yeah, I find when you're really motivated and really interested in the subject matter, it often creates a drive and an excitement uh, that so that the workload doesn't feel stressful. It feels almost exhilarating sometimes, you know? So, and to be able to study in a place where that creativity and interest is fostered so well that I would think that that kind of offsets the sense of dread or overwhelm. Um, so, and it sounds like a pretty good balance of different types of courses that kind of that can work well for a student's focus ability, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there a lot of academic requirements in first semester? You said you have some history courses, so I assume you're doing some research and some essays and exams and that kind of thing. How many courses per semester do you have?
So for Manchester School of Architecture, the courses are set for you, so you
Yeah.
can't like pick your electives or anything like that. So for example, first semester, the semester I just finished, we had studio, and then studio on Monday, studio plus on Wednesday, and then we have humanities lecture on Thursday, and then Tuesday and Friday you're free.
Oh, so
Follow.
it's
You're
it's
you're supposed to work on it.
relatively, yeah, that's a relatively
Yeah,
light course load
yeah,
compared to
actually,
other university programs.
yeah, yeah,
So that is really, that's awesome. So that you can really, you can have that time to do the
yeah,
studio work and your homework and that kind of thing, and that
yeah,
you've got
yeah,
enough spares or you're not in class every day all the time
yeah,
with multiple exams and essays and wow, that
yeah,
sounds so much better than what I've heard from some other architecture programs around the
yeah,
world, or even just my daughter in genetics at Western.
yeah,
Like, so I can see why you're able to keep a
yeah,
healthy mindset and body and mind and all of that. Wonderful.
yeah.
So
I
that's
love
fantastic.
the 2 days. Yeah,
Yeah,
you get to work
wonderful.
on your project and like different opportunities too. Yeah. So basically, like the first semester requirements, assignment requirements. For studio, there's like the requirement of the final portfolio, which you just saw. So it was um 3 projects done in studio, with along with Studio Plus, and that's combined into one portfolio. And then for humanities, we have to do one essay. So you pick a topic. Mine is studying facades and how like it was conceived and built and how well developed over time.
Right,
Yeah, so one essay for humanities and another portfolio called Thinking Through Drawing for um yeah. And for that, it's mainly like exploration. So there was they they told us to like draw our, let's say, breakfast and plan view. So you do that, or and elevation view, all those things, and then make iterations of like a building facade, as well as sketch our route and like
right.
how like yeah, and
Interesting.
then also explore different copying different drawings with different like materials and different yeah.
Right.
So basically that portfolio is more like a exploration and
Yeah.
practice. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not a really intensely heavy workload.
Yeah.
So I guess that helps you guys flourish and to be able to do things like participate in
Yeah. Like those
competitions
extra
and
yeah.
go on field trips and things like that. Well, it just sounds fantastic. So what's coming for next semester? You're about to start school tomorrow again, right?
Mine starts at the 22nd, so we've got
What?
some yeah,
Oh my
22nd.
gosh. Okay. Well, my semester starts tomorrow. Wow, that's different too.
So I
Amazing.
think
So
I
what do you
think
do in the next couple of weeks?
I know like on the 22nd we have something called the Future Week, Future Me Week. So basically you get like opportunities to develop like your well future, but like basically like there's like sessions on how to set up your LinkedIn profile, public speaking, all those type of things. So yeah, and then the good thing about this again is it's from both University of Manchester and MMU, Manchester Metropolitan.
Right.
So I get access to both things if I wanted to participate. Um, and for a second semester, it's like I think it's technologies unit along with another set of courses or set of maybe humanities, but I'm not quite sure yet because we weren't free. But I have other competitions coming up, so yeah.
Wow, fantastic. It just sounds wonderful.
Yeah.
So, well, thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us, and it's just so interesting for me. I love being able to follow up with students and seeing where they're at and what are they doing, and I just think it's so interesting for students that are, applying to various schools and to even maybe be able to keep the momentum going while they're making their portfolios because they can see what the potential can be like to study there. So, well, I hope I get to stay in touch with you and see
Yeah.
some other fantastic things ahead. But it sounds like your experience already, just in first semester, is going to set you up for a great education and a wonderful future in architecture.
Mhm.
So, well, good luck, and I hope you have a great next semester
Thank
and
you.
enjoy your life there in Manchester. I guess is it a 4-year program? The
It's
length, do
a
you know?
it's a 3-year school program,
3-year.
but
Oh, okay.
we have another work year. So it's so BA Bachelor's of Architecture or RIBA Part 1, we call it, is
Okay.
3 years of school. So total third year. And then you have a placement year where you get work experience in like a
Okay.
firm.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then
Wonderful.
like I think second part is also similar. You have a set of years for school and then for another year of work experience. Yeah.
Wonderful. Well, fantastic. Well, good luck, and I hope you have a
Thank you.
fantastic year ahead.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.
So, um, let's go to speaker view. All right. So, and pin. So if you guys want to figure out how did Benson make a portfolio and how did he get into such a great school, reach out to me at PortPrep. I'm happy to show you the process that students like Benson go through to get access to wonderful education opportunities like that. And if you're curious to follow Benson, check him out on his Instagram. We'll put the link below. Maybe some of the links that you showed me, we could include that in
Yep.
the description below if you're interested in any of those things. Now, something that before we go that could be a little bit interesting to hear is how did you find out about these schools? What was your process to find out about which schools in the UK would be good to apply to? Do you recall your process of discovery?
I'm gonna be honest. So I started off looking at rankings, because I like to aim high. So, and I know like, there's some direct correlation of why a school is placed high. So I started there, and then I kind of looked at UCL as my goal, and then I furthered on looking at like how to apply to UCL. So through UCAS. So then I knew I had 5 options that I could pick with. It mainly came from like watching YouTube videos on like architecture portfolios. they always talk about which schools they applied to. So that was kind of the starting point. Then further on, I did more research. Um, and like for example, UCL, they have their own faculty of Bartlett. So you get to like learn about a lot about it. As long as like there's also different summer programs. For instance, I took UBC's design discovery program, which gets you to learn more about different schools. Also like opportunities such as PortPrep, you get to um know more about different schools because like for example, Karen tells you about these opportunities and you get to know like more experienced perspectives from different people. Yeah.
Yeah. So the research you did, that it was mostly self-directed, or
Yeah.
did you have help from guidance counselors?
Mine was more self-directed. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So, well, it's good to know. Well, what processes a student can go through. So yeah, you can see that the education you're getting there, there's a reason they're ranked high in the world, right?
Yeah.
So, well, thank you for sharing that. And I hope to keep in touch. Take care, Benson. And thanks for listening, everybody. Check us out at portprep.com. And yes, definitely consider the UBC summer camp. What's it called again, Benson?
Design discovery.
Design Discovery.
Yeah.
And also Carlton has a really good summer camp. Maybe let us know as you're over there, are there programs at the university that you're studying at? Did they have portfolio development opportunities? That would be really interesting to know. So if you want to ask around, I'd love to hear. All right, take care. Bye, everybody.